Hello and welcome. Can you try to imagine the shock that hit Kenyans after a 21-year-old man just confessed to have killed more than 10 innocent children within a span of 5 years? The people from the community in which he targeted lived in a trail of grief and fear they could not overcome. But trust me or not, the days of a thief are usually numbered because finally Masten Wanjala was arrested by the police. Masten remained in detention for only 4 months before he planned for his escape, and finally he managed to escape from prison. But trust me or not, that was the worst move he ever made, because after 2 days since he escaped from prison, he was brutally killed by an angry mob in Bungoma area. And if you'd like to know the details of this case, and if you are a true crime junkie like me, and in your heart this feels like true crime, then I suggest that you stick around. And so let's have a look together. In this video, I will slowly take you through Masten's traumatized childhood life, his crimes, arrest, and prison escape, which resulted to his ultimate death in the hands of a frustrated mob. Masten Wanjala was born in the year 2001 in Bungoma County. His parents were Robert and Edna Wanjala. Wanjala's parents separated even before his birth. His young mother was pushed by fate to Machakos County. When Wanjala was 3 years old, his mother took a second chance with love. She met a man by the name Anthony. She ended up marrying him. Anthony fully accepted Masten as his own son, providing him with both financial and moral support, though he only worked as a welder. For the mother, she worked as a non-living domestic helper. During these times, the young family was residing in one among the several slum settlements in Kenya, Mukuru kwa Jenga. Masten's criminal behavior had started to manifest at quite an early age. His stepfather confirmed that he was frequently rude and would steal money from them. As expected, Anthony and Edna would have their own baby. This led Masten towards becoming withdrawn, focusing more on football than going to class for a formal education. He barely engaged in any family activities, and finally he started to show his despise for education. He hated school, would run away, missing months of school. To surprise you, his father added that, despite his prolonged absence from school, he always ranked among the best students after any exams. Masten's behavior continued to degenerate, giving his parents an extremely hard moment until they had to intervene with the police. The officers suggested that the best solution was to have Masten enrolled to an approved school where he would be provided with training and rehabilitation. They took the advice after an officer added that if Masten had already attained the age of 18 years, he would have been sent to prison due to his unbearable behavior. Masten was enrolled into an approved school in Nairobi industrial area. He only survived at the school for only a single term. He acted with too much impropriety, and so he was expelled. The training rehabilitation efforts, punishments at the facility had little or no impact on Masten. After returning home, Masten received beating from his parents and the police frequently, and finally, at 15 years, he dropped from school. At around February 2014, on one weekend, Masten's mom and a sister-in-law needed to attend a group meeting. They were to spend a few hours there, and so sister-in-law, who had a 7-year-old daughter, needed a babysitter. Masten was assigned the duty to look after the daughter, whose name was Purity, until the two women would return early afternoon. By the time the 2 women returned, Masten had already prepared lunch for them. Purity's mom, upon noting that Purity wasn't around, she asked Masten about her whereabouts. He told her that she was out in a neighbor's place playing with other kids. The day progressed and Purity's mom got restless. She started looking for her daughter. Masten was also in the search, but he later sneaked and ran away. Moments later, they found Purity's lifeless body in the bedroom. She had strangulation marks around the neck. The two women reported the matter to the police, and Masten's search began. The neighbors also learned that at the same time there was another child who was also missing. Though Masten's stepdad Anthony claimed that after Masten ran off they never saw him again. His biological father Robert claimed that his parents sent him over to Bungoma to hide him, since he had now become the suspect for Purity and the other child's death. This was the first time that Robert ever met his biological son. While in Bungoma, the boy remained distant and would barely interact with anyone. He only enjoyed talking about football. Robert had taken a step of taking Masten back to school, where he enrolled at a local primary school. Sadly, he only attended for only 2 terms and finally ran away from home. A few years later, Masten was living in Kitengela, Kajiado County. He often commuted to California Estate in Eastleigh, Nairobi, to play football with local boys. He was once a member of the Elephants Football Club in Majengo. He began reinventing himself as a football coach. He had posted false profile information on his Facebook page, claiming to have attended St. Anthony High School and Kenyatta University. He regularly posted photos of himself with young upcoming footballers, a move that elevated his football coach image. February 2018, a boy 13 years old, namely Emmanuel Wafula, went missing out of the blue. Neighbors and kind volunteers searched for him, an exercise that lasted for 2 days, before discovering Emmanuel. His dead body was found in a pit latrine. From observing him, it was evident the little boy was tortured to his death. The community started to react, an uproar of anger rising after the news of Emmanuel's murder spread through. It was unfortunate because the suspicion would befall an innocent couple, Haron and Mary. The wife, Mary, recalled on how the angry mob had stormed at them, believing that Haron was responsible for Emmanuel's death. They had driven Haron out of the house in a move to kill him in retaliation for the gruesome murder of Emmanuel. Mary's attempt of convincing the agitated mob that her husband was too sick and incapacitated of such a thing went futile. The crowd set on fire 7 houses belonging to Haron's sons, destroying all property of the family. By God's grace, before Haron could be killed, he managed to escape on a motorcycle. He went directly to Kimilili police station where he sought refuge. Believe it or not, Masten Wanjala was by then among the agitated mob, watching in silence as an innocent man went through the torture that almost cost his life and that of his family. More time passed by, and more children continued to go missing in the area and beyond. The incidences of children going missing in Nairobi County seriously increased. Out of this, parents held demonstration demanding for answers due to the increased disappearances, criticizing the security system in Nairobi, and most of these children were being discovered dead. June 30th, 2021, another boy, 12 years old, by the name Junior Musoka, would go missing. He had attended a football match in Biafra Estate, Eastleigh area. Back at home, his mom received a call. An anonymous person is demanding a release ransom of 50,000 Kenyan shillings. Sadly, the mother could not afford such an amount, and so she reported the matter to the authorities. and began working with Shauri Moyo, Director of Criminal Investigation Officers. The officers conducted a data dive, as well as cell phone signals tracking. He directed them to a house owned by one Masten Wanjala, Kitengela area, a house he rented together with a cousin. This led to his arrest on the July 14, 2021. He was found in possession of the mobile phone and the SIM card used to demand for the ransom. Upon deeper interrogation, he revealed to have killed Junior Musoka, confessing to have killed more than 10 minors since 2016, only at the age of 15 years. Masten lured his young victims by pretending to be a football coach. After their capture, he would drag them, either forcing the victim to drink the sedative or just making them inhale it. He would then mutilate them, sometimes also drink their blood. Small boys were his target across Machakos, Kitengela area, Nairobi, and Bungoma County. To add salt to the injuries, he stated that he usually demanded for ransom right after killing the victims. He would kill them from his Kitengela home, then dispose of their bodies. Out of these revelations, the authorities branded him as a vampire killer. He expressed no regret, and it seems like he enjoyed his actions. The actual motives for his killings were never revealed. However, the lead detective to this case, an officer named Augustine, believed that such actions could only be related to dark magic such as witchcraft. Masten had a notebook with him. He had carefully recorded his killings. He would then lead officers to 10 different crime scenes across Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, and Bungoma in an effort to recover the victims' bodies. He revealed a specific crime scene where he had dumped a 9-year-old boy who he had killed on February 2019. Sadly, the remains were not discovered, but the cops collected samples in an attempt to carry out a DNA sampling, a move that would help identify them. When postmortems were carried on different victims, results showed that Junior was ruthlessly strangled. For Charles Opindo, another one of his victims, he suffered fatal head injuries. Charles' father had even paid for ransom to redeem his son, and aware that the boy had already been killed long ago. Back in Bungoma County, they discovered the bodies of 5-year-old Simon Simiyu, 9-year-old Emmanuel Wafula, and 13-year-old Augustine Wafula, and another 13-year-old boy whose name wasn't mentioned. The authorities discovered supporting evidence at Masten's grandparents' house, including the victim's clothing. That is where he would hide right after the killings. Among his victims, his cousin Purity was the only female victim. As the police went through with the process, residents held their lips tight with anger after knowing that the killer had been roaming around, mingling freely with their children, unconscious that he was the one behind their disappearance and death. Masten remained in detention since the arrest, being held at Jogoo Road Police Station, awaiting his formal charges in a court of law. However, he had appeared before the Makadara Law Courts, where the police received a permit to hold him for 30 days detention as they dug for more evidence. On October 13, 2021, he was to appear before a judge for his trial to begin, being held accountable for all the 14 victims. He was to be sentenced for the victims separately. The unexpected turn of events. On the 13th of October 2021, the morning of his trial, the inmates were going through a routine roll call at around 6 a.m. when the officers discovered that Masten Wanjala had escaped. They sounded the alarm, signaling of Masten's escape, and his hunt officially began. Investigators were baffled after learning that there was no sign of breaking at the cell. questioning on how such a high-profile criminal would escape. This indicated that Masten had just walked out of the prison cell. A number of more than 20 people went through questioning regarding the matter, including inmates and police officers, in an effort to come to understanding on how Masten managed to sneak from the cell. The night during which Masten escaped had been quite a chaotic one. Many offenders had been arrested and placed in cells after breaking the COVID-19 curfew restriction rules, since this was during the time of the pandemic. Most of them had just been locked in without appearing on the occurrence book, OB. The same night, there was power outage, forcing police officers to use flashlights as they tried to distinguish the inmates who were to be remanded, released, or to face the court tomorrow. During such commotions, Masten managed to sneak out of the cell. There were accusations that the police were receiving bribes from the inmates for release, an amount between 1,000 and 2,000 Kenyan shillings. Out of such misconduct, the OCS for Jogoo police station, together with 2 officers, were detained and charged with negligence of duty, corruption, and misconduct, something that led to the escape of such a high-profile suspect, such as Masten, who had even confessed to his crimes. During the officers' charges in a court of law, details surfaced that the locks to the cells where Masten had been locked did not have any civilized locks, giving him the freedom to walk in and out of the cell without any restrictions. This placed too much blame on the security system in the facility, knowing that Masten was such a high-profile suspect who had been in custody for 4 months, yet the police had not taken any necessary step for putting him to proper isolation, and so he ended up mastering the cells. Now, with a night of power outage, a night full of chaos due to the curfew offenders, Masten got an easy chance to sleep unnoticed, since he had well mastered the facility. He had been there, roaming quite freely for a period of 4 months. An official manhunt for Masten was launched. The police requested the public to stay vigilant, as well as to help identify Masten Wanjala in case they noted him. The public was cautioned against him, stating that Masten was a dangerous man who posed a threat to the general population. As daring as Masten was, he did not remain hidden. He had run away to his biological father's place in Bungoma. 2 days after his escape, he was spotted trying to join a local football match. He was first spotted by little children going to school at around 6 a.m. in the morning. Local boda riders were alerted about Masten, and they immediately started going after him. During his chase, Masten had attempted to attack his pursuers with scissors. During the run, he managed to jump into a neighbor's house through an open window, and he locked himself inside. However, 3 of his bold pursuers managed to pull him out of the house and brought him before the angry mob that had now gathered around him. He was given a chance to explain how he managed to escape from prison, saying that he joined the petty offenders who were bribing police for release, and that is how he too had managed the escape. He added that right after the escape, he jumped over a lorry which drove him all the way to Bungoma. But upon arriving home, his family members disowned him and didn't want him to be a part of them. It was clear that his move of trying to mingle with the crowd was not any malice. He was not aware that the villagers did not want him there. The angry mob could not hold it anymore. They started to beat him up, pelting him with stones and dragging him around until he took his final breath. This is the incident of him being lynched, as you can see in this video. Later, the authorities identified Masten Wanjala through fingerprints, biometrics, announcing him dead and that he had been lynched by an angry mob on the 15th of October 2021. The move was not the right one, so did the Director of Public Prosecution state. It would have been more democratic for Masten to have faced the judicial system punishment. He condemned the mob for the action, stating that anyone deserved a fair judgment by being provided with a chance to express and even defend themselves. But according to me, I hold no hard feelings with the mob. Imagine he had taken away the lives of more than 10 innocent kids. Sometimes an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth is the best way to go. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section. Masten's body was moved to Bungoma Referral Hospital morgue. The police facing charges over Masten's escape were released on a cash bail of 100,000 Kenyan shillings each. However, there was great outcry among the Kenyan people demanding for the termination of such officers who were careless with lives of civilized Kenyans. They greatly blamed the Kenyan police service as well as the judicial system for having Masten carelessly detained for 4 months without any official court hearing. His case was supposed to be addressed ASAP, following that he had killed not one but more than 10 children. It was such a shame that the case was really mishandled by the system, a system that was mostly relied and looked upon by the Kenyan public. The case had really caused serious collateral damage. Do you still remember Haron, the man who had been wrongly accused of being responsible for the children's death before Masten's capture? Well, the innocent man had gone through serious emotional suffering, causing him trauma that was almost impossible to overcome. He could not overcome the rejection he had been showered by the community, as well as do anything to mend his broken reputation. He was innocent yet could not overcome such disgrace, something that led to physical illness. He eventually died in the year 2020 before Masten's arresting, being denied by fate a chance to witness the person who had caused him such great ordeal. The fact that the Kenyan police as well as the Kenyan judicial system had delayed to act, this left the families of Masten's victims with 1,000 unanswered questions. They would have wanted to get a chance to look into Masten's eyes and ask him why he chose to kill their innocent little children. An autopsy was conducted on Masten's body and the burial was arranged by the police after his father asked the police to do so. He was finally buried at a public cemetery, bringing an end to a case that ended in tragedy, leaving behind several families who believed that the court would have served them with justice. Yet, the lynching of Wanjala Masten indicated the mob's desperation for justice. And that is a tragic case of Masten Wanjala. And please, consider subscribing. And in the meantime, stay safe. I will see you in the next one.